What is up, everybody? And we are from the sidelines here. We're talking about the NFL every Sunday night at 8 o'clock. You can catch us here talking about various topics in the NFL. And, as we get closer and closer to the NFL season, the conversations from the sidelines will only get hotter and hotter. And if you are watching, on our Sports Fluent X, YouTube, Facebook page, and Twitch, make sure you keep it locked here. We will engage in your comments tonight if you want to join the conversations, because we'll have some fun topics we'll be talking about today and maybe a few hypotheticals. Let's see how crazy we can get, because it's going to be Cody and I tonight. So we were going to, let's get a little wild. You know what I mean? Like
Let's
everyone,
do it.
Gone. So let's just get a little wild, have some fun tonight. So if you guys want to join the conversation, be sure to drop a comment down in the comment section, and we'll try to engage with you tonight. But Cody, how you doing today? You doing all right?
Doing well, man. Yeah, I missed last week. Sorry about that. But yeah, I'm ready to go this week with some takes and things like that. Yeah, it's been a good week.
Yeah, I'm glad you're having a good week, man, because I guess we could say that the Pittsburgh Steelers are having a pretty good week. Finally, with the questions and the is he coming, is he not coming? He said he was going to be here, but is he really here? And that is Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers has officially signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers as of Friday. And then Pittsburgh Steelers did post that he officially signed. It's a one-year deal with $10 million guaranteed, that the contract can get up to $19 million based off incentives and playing time incentives, of course. Obviously, his recent history with his Achilles injury and missing that first year with the Jets. So how do you feel about this saga, and let's just talk about the saga right now with Aaron Rodgers? Like, how do you feel about the saga that we had throughout the summer? And does this leave like a bad taste in his teammate's mouth before he even gets there?
That's a great question. I'm glad the saga's over, to be honest. But yeah, that's a great question. I think it could, because it's like, I don't know why he was playing games. And once they didn't draft a quarterback at all until like Will Howard in, I think, like the 6th round or something. We knew this was going to be the play. So maybe it wasn't. Maybe they all knew and just everybody else didn't know. Maybe it isn't that big of an issue in the locker room. Maybe they all knew, but didn't do the OTAs. I think he said he's going to do the mini camp this week. So I don't know. He's got 3 months, I guess, or 2.5 months to get ready for the season. Brand new team, brand new coaches, players. So yeah, the saga, I'm glad it's over. It was a little bit overblown. I mean, it's a lot of talking about a 41-year-old quarterback who probably was coming off the worst year of his career last year. But yeah, I'm glad it's over. And I mean, I guess Pittsburgh's got their quarterback for the next year, and then we'll probably be in the same boat maybe next year. But yeah, I'm glad the saga's over. I think it was a little overblown, but NFL offseason after the draft, there's not really a ton to talk about. So maybe that's just why he was talked about more. He was kind of the biggest story still out there. And, he's always likes to keep his name out there as well.
Yeah, it's been, how do I say it? It's like, it's definitely was annoying, right? Because like, listen, if you want to believe, right? If you watch the Pat McAfee show, you saw his interview, like obviously he has a lot of stuff going on in his personal life, right? He didn't want to commit to anything, and and he told people that that's what he's been very prevalent about, how to want to commit to anything. But at the same time, why? So like, if you did, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like pursuing a partner, right? And you're like, okay, I don't want to do anything serious right now, but I'm still trying to figure out what I want. But then yet the Steelers are like still attracted to this person and still kept going down this, this lane with them. And just was so confident, like, because you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be so confident in this person and the fit with this person that you want to, to chase them, no matter the hoops and all of the outside noise. And it's like with the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're a team that don't like the outside noise. They've done really good at controlling their own narrative and keeping things under wraps. Obviously, we've seen with AB and Le'Veon Bell, with George Pickens, and all the people and the characters they used to have. But I feel like now, like, there's starting to be some more cracks in that steel curtain that we're so used to know. And like, and it's just, I don't know. A lot of this is like really odd to me. And
Yeah.
I just don't really understand what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing. Don't get me wrong, like this, Aaron Rodgers is great, right? But the biggest thing that the Steelers have had trouble with doing is developing quarterbacks. I mean, the last quarterback they developed was Ben Roethlisberger, and they were lucky enough to have him for over a decade. But at the same time, you knew the end was nearing for Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
Yeah, you did. I mean, they drafted Mason Rudolph and Landry Fields and guys like that, but like later, like third, fourth round guys. But like that's not looking at the future. That's just like throwing a needle and be like, okay, if this hits, we did struck gold, But
Right.
that's not really putting in high quality effort. Like even with the Eagles, like they had a quarterback that was like MVP race and still drafted someone in the second round because they wanted to be a quarterback factory. So it's like if the Steelers were serious, they wouldn't have this issue because again, like you said, they're going to be in this carousel again next year. It's like you can't really expect Rodgers to give you 2-3 years at this point.
No. Yeah.
So
I think he's going to be 42 in December or 41. Either way, it's like, and I'm with you. Like this is very like Steeler-like, at least the last couple of years. And like you said, they developed Roethlisberger, but Roethlisberger was 10th overall pick, so he was a good prospect,
right?
And they developed him, but they never really had like a backup plan when he was done. Like, okay, and he was done well before he retired. Like he was done well before he retired, and they never had a plan of transition. It was kind of like, I mean, like with the Patriots, we tried to take guys after guys. We took Ryan Mallett, Jimmy Garoppolo, guy after guy, and Brady just kept playing, but at least Brady still had it. Right. Last couple of years of Roethlisberger, they just kind of had to hold out hope that he could, every now and then return to the vintage Roethlisberger. And then after that, I mean, it's been, Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky for a year. And then you try with Kenny Pickett, the hometown kid, you overdraft him in the first round. It's like, I don't know what the direction of this team is. It feels like you got a good coach in Mike Tomlin. You got a good roster for the most part. I think there's some holes, but a good roster. But you don't have a quarterback, like you're not going to compete against Mahomes and Allen and Lamar and even like guys like Burrow if they can find out to get a defense in Cincinnati. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like they're just on the same mediocre train. Just every year, okay, we're going to be good, but we're not going to be anywhere good to do anything.
Yeah. If you guys are joining us now from the sidelines here every Sunday, make sure if you guys want to add your 2 cents in about Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers this upcoming season, maybe give us we'll do a schedule prediction, like what do we feel like their record will look like this year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But yeah, again, like schedule. They gave up on Kenny Pickett. There was rumors that he didn't like the fact that he had competition, and it's just I think the Steelers are trying to like overthink and big brain certain aspects of these decision making because obviously like you want to invest in young talent and help let them grow, but ever since they did that, they did that in obviously the worst quarterback draft outside of I think Brock Purdy. I think was the only good quarterback in that draft, and they passed on him multiple times. But they they might try to go for Malik Willis next to get their revenge because I mean Malik Willis is kind of getting developed in Green Bay over the past couple years or so. But like now Mike Tomlin seems to go for this because it feels like a Hail Mary and it feels desperate. They're going towards the veteran quarterback route because they have a veteran team that's getting older and their Super Bowl window. I don't even think their Super Bowl window is really open, to be honest with you.
No.
Because they're supposed to be this dominant defense, and they don't get me wrong, they'll have good performances on defense, but it's not that Steelers team of your it's not your granddad Steelers. Like, and I love Mike Tomlin. Like, I respect him so much, and he's been able to get out of like the lackluster roster that they have, but at the same time, like they haven't drafted well. They haven't, and they've been able to consistently bring their guys up, and that's normally the Steelers' DNA. They like to draft well, pay their guys, and keep everyone within, and then bolster their roster with cheap veterans that are that can provide a key role for them. But now it's like, there's, hopefully, the TJ Watt, they can get TJ Watt to a new contract this year. But that could be a story that kind of starts the bubble to the surface. They paid a lot of money to DK Metcalf to, and then traded away George Pickens, a homegrown receiver that obviously had some concerns about, his attitude or whatnot. But he was a homegrown guy who was a, pretty good receiver. And they, traded him to the Steelers for, I don't think not even too crazy of capital. So I just don't know what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing. Like they're seeming to, like, in a way, go away from what got them to being this team. Because there was a period of time with Ben Roethlisberger, they had a very potent offense, and they were going to go away from like the dominant defense. And then when everyone was starting to age or start to leave, then they kind of go, revert back to a dominant defense. But now it's like, what are we doing here? Like, who are your like players on the offense right now, Cody, that scare you? Like, who scares you on the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because it's not DK Metcalf.
No, I'm looking at their roster, and it's like your running backs are going to be Jalen Warren or Caleb Johnson. So those are your running backs. And
Kenny Gainwell, that's my guy. I love KG.
Either way, if he's scaring you, though, I don't know.
No, he's not. He's not at all.
And then, their wide receivers, even after Metcalf, I think their number 2 is Bobby Trees. We got Robert Woods going here.
Yeah. Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin started to emerge a little bit last year with Russell.
Yeah.
But,
I like Freiermuth, the tight end. Yeah.
Yes, he's good.
I like the tight end, but, this doesn't scare you. And you're playing in a division with Lamar and what they got there, and then you got Burrow and Higgins and Chase. It's like you're definitely third best, I think, offense by far. And then we'll see if Cincinnati can have any kind of defense. You might be the third best team, but I'm with you. I don't know what their strategy is or what their plan is going forward, because it's like, they were a defensive-led team under like Bill Cowher in the early days of Mike Tomlin, and then it became offense when they got Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, and now they want to maybe go back to defense, but their defense isn't good enough to just lead them. Like, this defense isn't like the Legion of Boom Seahawks or something like that. It's not good enough to just be what they can lean on. Like, it's TJ Watt's great, Cameron Hayward's great, and I love,
but they're older now.
They're older and they've had injuries of their own. So this defense isn't going to lead you. So, I guess they're just okay with being good enough to make the playoffs, but I think they've been the 7 seed the last 2 years, 6 or 7 seed, and been bounced bad the last 3 years by the big three, by the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Bills. Like last year, that Ravens game, like no one gave them a chance, and that game was pretty much over at halftime. Same with the year before against Buffalo. So it's like, I guess you're just okay with being okay. And I know, and that doesn't go over well in Pittsburgh. They have 6 Super Bowl rings. They've had really good teams in their past. So it's not going to just be good enough for them to just be okay. And so I don't know. I think they're just going to band-aid the issue with the quarterback, and then maybe hope they strike gold next year. Quarterback class is supposed to be better. Arch Manning's probably not going to come out. I'm not high on him. I got to see more from him before I could call him like a bona fide number 1 overall pick. And then, I'm thinking, I don't know about that comment there. But,
I don't know what that's
yeah, I think that was meant for another show. But there's some other good quarterbacks coming out next year. I like the kid from Clemson, Klubnik. I like the quarterback from ASU is pretty good. South Carolina quarterback Sellers is pretty good.
We can talk. We can have another show about college football, because I have a lot of strong opinions about college football.
Same.
But but here's the issue. Like, if the Steelers could get lucky, if there's a deep quarterback class, because again, if they're gonna mess around and win 9 to 10 games, which is great coaching, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, they're not gonna
they're not bad enough to be like a top 5.
Exactly. So then you're gonna have to give up capital if you want to make a move up, or they're lucky enough to let a quarterback slip to you. And they had an opportunity to get Shador for, right or wrong. Obviously they needed help everywhere. So that's why it was kind of one of those things where it's like, Derek Harmon's like, I think one of the best pass rushing D tackles that are going to be underrated in this draft at the position. So it's kind of like, we have a lot of holes. right? So obviously they had the idea of, Aaron Rodgers coming, going for a veteran because they were trying to win now. But at the same time, it's like you have to reset and constantly being mid to average, like that Jeff Fisher effect. Throw back a reference right there. It's like it's
yep.
It's frustrating, and I because again, like at first I was like, when I hear the outside noise of what Steelers fans are like always angry, like they want, you want Mike Tomlin fired, and at first I'm like, bro, he's never had a losing season, but then again, but he's never been super dominant and he hasn't won a playoff game in a while. So it's like, we get to the dance, but we're getting right out. So we're going to be 20-21 every year, So then what is that going to do for you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it is a harsh reality. Let's play the
you want to play the schedule game with them? I got their schedule here.
I also have it as well.
Yeah. We can open with the Jets. That's pretty. That works out well for the league. That'll be a nice
it'll be funny. I'm gonna say they start the year off with the win. What do you think?
I'll give them a W in that one. Yeah, I'm not high on Fields and the Jets yet. I have to see more from Fields. Yeah, so I'll give them a win there.
They got home against the Seahawks. Excuse me. What do you think?
I think. Ooh, that's a tough one. That's going to be a good game.
It's going to be a shit show because, again, look, whatever you feel about Sam.
Right. Sam Darnold, yeah.
Darnold. Wow. Sam Howell was stuck in my head. I cannot say Darnold. Right. I think this will be a defensive game.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I think this game will end up 6-9.
I could see it. I could see it.
To be honest with you, and it's going to be a disgusting game. But who gets that extra field goal? And I think I'm going to lean Seahawks here, just because I really love their running game. I love Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Which this talks about one of them getting traded because they also drafted my favorite running back of this draft, Damian Martinez, late. They was able to Miami, get him. Yeah. Yes, I love Damian Martinez. So they got a stacked running back room, and they also have Cooper Kupp. They got JSN. So they got a solid little core.
Their offense is nice. Yeah, if Sam Darnold can be anything close than what he was last year, outside of the last 3 games, of course, but anything close than what he was last year, I think they're solid teams. Yeah, I'm with you. I would say 1-1 after the first 2 games.
Okay. So we got week 3.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be too homerish in week 3. Okay.
I can't. I know. As I was like, I'm hoping they're 1-2 after week 3. I think that could be an L, though. I mean, I don't know. In New England, it's not like it's a tough travel. Yeah. But if Patriots get off to a decent start, that could be a good home environment. Depends on how they start.
I think I'm going to give the Steelers this nod just because I feel like it might take you guys a little bit time to get going due to the fact of the second year, new offensive coordinator, Mike Vrabel.
Diggs may not be ready for week 1 either with the whole ACL. He looks good, but we'll see if they clear him for week 1 too.
True. Okay, so we'll go win for the Steelers week 3.
I guess.
Week 4, we got Vikings here. And I think this is an international game. Anything can happen here, but I think I'm going to go loss. I think the Steelers wins.
I'm going L, even though I'm not high on McCarthy, and we've been over that before in the past, but I still think the Vikings have a really good team. Yeah. So, I'll give them – I think they're 2-2 after 4 there.
Then they go on week 5 bye. Then they come back off the bye against the Cleveland Browns, which you got to give them the dub because I think Mike Tomlin does pretty well following the bye.
Division. Yeah.
So, especially because I just don't know what the Browns are.
Yeah, same. I don't even know who's going to be quarterback, and it could be any one of those 4 in week 5. So who knows who's going to be the quarterback then. So, I'll give them a win. They own the Browns anyway. So, it'd be 3-2. And then they go to Cincinnati. So
Cincinnati on the Thursday night game.
Yeah.
I'm going Bengals here because the Bengals just really had their number. And they're more explosive. They're just more explosive, and I just don't think the Steelers will be able to keep up.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so that puts them at 3-3, and then they got a Sunday night game the following week, or 2 weeks later. The following week.
Which get a nice little mini bye, and that's like
mini bye.
against, and then this is a revenge game. So I mean,
Yeah.
Rodgers gets 2 revenge games this year.
Yep.
So does he go 2-0 in these revenge games, or does he go? Does he drop one?
I think he goes 1-1. I like the Packers in this game, even though I'm not super high on love.
But it's a home game too, though. It's a home game for Pittsburgh.
Game. Sunday night, like you said, mini bye, so they've been
would
off
have
for
a little
10
bit more
days.
time.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
That's a tough.
Yeah.
So you're going okay? I'll rock with that. We go loss here.
Yeah.
Week 9 we got Colts. I'm going to give them a dub because we can talk about that a little bit later. We'll talk about Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts in that quarterback situation. We'll talk about a couple of different quarterback situations later on. You guys can let us know in the comment section below what you guys think. Also, let us know about the Steelers' schedule. If so far we're doing good or not, let us know.
Right.
We're very interactive. All right. Week 9, we said against the Colts, we're giving them a dub there, right?
Yeah, I think it's a dub. Yeah, so I think that puts them at what?
1, 2, 3, 4, and 4. Yep.
Yeah, 4-4.
This is on average. I think we're kind of nailing this, to be honest with you. Then they go across the country, week 10 to the Chargers, and I'm also say this is a loss here.
I'm going loss as well.
Because they're going off a Sunday night and then they're going to a 1:00 game. Oh no, excuse me. This actually is a Sunday night game. So
another Sunday night game.
Prime time. I just think this is the time that Harbaugh's really going to have his team rocking and rolling. Yep. And then the case for Omari and Hampton, offensive rookie of the year, is going to be stronger than ever.
I think that's an L. Yeah, that's an L.
Then we got the Bengals again.
Bengals
this time
back home.
I think
usually this is time Bengals are rolling at this time usually because they usually start out slow and then middle of the season they're rolling. I don't know. Do they split? I think the Bengals beat them twice last year, right? Like they got them both times.
Let's see.
I'm trying to think here.
I got you. So they lost they beat the Bengals 44-38, and then they lost to them 19-17 in the last game of the year.
Gotcha.
So it was a close game both times.
Both times, yeah.
But I can't see this offense being explosive. No, to be honest with you.
And the Bengals are going to put up points. Like they're going to put up points whether they, So I
think they lose.
I think it's another L. Yeah. So that puts them at 4-6. So yeah, and then you go to Chicago. That could be tough too.
This is a tough game. And again, we just don't know what Chicago we're going to get at this point in the year. Obviously, year 1 for Ben Johnson and company, trying to figure out their identity. Right. And this is the time last year that Chicago really started to falter.
Big time. Big time. Yeah.
I'm going to go with the experience here. And you know what? I'm going to say Chicago wins. I think Chicago wins. I just changed my mind.
All right. So I kind of I was good either way, to be honest. But I think, this is midway through the season. I think Ben Johnson will have his offense down, and Caleb and the crew will have their offense down. I think they beat them, and this could kind of be the beginning of like the fall for the Bears as you look who they got next week coming to town. After that,
so okay, because this, okay. So we got home for Buffalo. I think what it is I'm gonna give them another loss here, but I think they might beat Baltimore the next week.
Right. I think they probably win one of those 3 games at home against Cincinnati, on the road at Chicago. They probably win one of those, but as of right now, I think those 3 teams are better. But yeah, I could see them pulling off an upset against the Ravens the following week.
Yeah, because I just think Josh Allen here is just going to be too good.
For sure.
It's going to be the primetime game slot of the 4:00 window. So yeah, I'm going to go loss again. So this will be 4 consecutive losses. Then the storylines are going to start to pick up. This is because right now they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 losses. So they will have to win out for the rest of the year in order for Mike Tomlin not to have his first losing season. They brought in, Aaron Rodgers for this not to happen, right? So we got the storylines. So then because of that storyline and the pressure of each week being must-see TV for the Steelers to continue to win, I think they get this win against the Ravens here as they slip up.
It'd be a classic Tomlin win. It would be probably just an ugly game, but they'll figure out a way to win. Yeah, I agree. So that puts them at what, like, what's that, like 6 and 8?
4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins, 1, 2, and 8 losses.
5 and 8.
Yeah.
Go back home for Miami. That's probably a win.
I go. They'll win 2 in a row, which then it's like, okay,
Yeah.
then the storyline turns into, all right, now can we see the Steelers team getting hot? They won 2 in a row. Could this team be a team that you don't want to see into the playoffs? Right.
Yeah. Yep.
I kind of think this is what I'm thinking.
At Detroit, yeah.
I think they go on a win streak here. Okay. I think they go. I think they win against Miami.
Yep.
They win against Detroit.
Oh, you got him winning in Detroit, huh? Okay.
I think he owns you know what I mean? Like Aaron Rodgers owns Detroit. And again, I just don't know about this Detroit team.
Right.
And I think he beats Cleveland for then that revenge game week 18 against the Ravens, right? So then the Ravens need this dub. And
so do the Steelers. Probably a play-in game for the Steelers. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I think the Ravens win that game though in Pittsburgh.
But yeah, I got them losing week 18 to get his official first losing season at going 8 and 9.
8 and 9. And I think that's kind of, and some of these games could flip, but I think that's kind of where they're at, 8-9 wins. So you're hovering around, maybe make the playoffs, and maybe you would get 9 and 8 and you sneak in or something like that. But it's like still a team that I don't see anybody scared of this team playing in the first round of the playoffs. If anything, there's probably a couple teams like, hey, we'd love to have them come to our place, get Rodgers, at the end of the season, see what he's got left in the tank at like 42. So now I think that's probably right around 8 and 9, 9 and 8, somewhere around there. I think that's where they end up. Maybe they get but if it goes sort of how we said, that 4-game losing streak in the middle there, that could just tank that. Because, Rodgers isn't one of those guys that's going to, he's not a guy that's going to go in the locker room and kind of rally the troops or whatever. He's kind of a guy when things go bad, like he kind of goes bad. So he kind of his mooch. So yeah, this could be, if they don't get off, they have some room in the beginning of the season to get off to a decent start. You get the Jets and then home for the Seahawks and at the Patriots. You could be 2-1 there, but if it ends up 1-2, then things could get really, really interesting there.
Really fun to watch
there. Yeah.
Let me ask you this last question, and we'll get off the Pittsburgh Steelers because we're not a Pittsburgh Steelers show,
No. Yeah.
But let me ask you this: what would it take for the Steelers offense? What was something to happen for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense to be scary, dangerous? What would need to happen for that? Whether it's a player stepping up, a move being made. What do you think could happen or needs to happen for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense to be a scary offense?
That's a great question. I think it's because I think obviously Metcalf's your one. I think he's a good one. He's not a great one. You need someone to step up and be that too. Can Calvin Austin kind of pick up and where he left off a little bit last year and be that too? And then the running back room, like no Najee Harris anymore. So I think that may be even more important than running. Like, who's the guy? Is it Warren or is it Caleb Johnson or is it Kenneth Gainwell? Is one of those guys going to be your every down back? Because I don't think you're going to be giving the ball to all three of them on a consistent basis. So I think it's the running backs who steps up. Is Caleb Johnson, can he do what he kind of did at Iowa, where he was productive there, even though their offense was never anything to write home about? But can he step up and be the guy? Because you can't just drop back 40 times a game with Rodgers, especially that offensive line isn't great either. So I think it's if they're running back, if they can get elite play. I like Jaylen Warren. I think he could have been their one the last couple of years. I thought he's been better than Harris the last couple of years. So if he could step up, or Caleb Johnson or even Gainwell steps up and kind of takes the pressure off of Aaron Rodgers, then I think that would really help this offense.
My only worry about Jaylen Warren is he a Tony Pollard? And what I mean by that, he's just a really good 1B or RB2 that gets he spells the lead back, which gives that offense a jolt. Yeah. But when it's time to be a bell cow, don't get me wrong, he was pretty much a bell cow this year once Tajay Spears kind of went. He got down after 4 games. He didn't play too many games. And he got just over 1,000 yards, literally 5 yards over 1,000 this last year. But at the same time, it's I think they really wanted Tajay Spears to be that guy. And
Right.
you know, it is.
It didn't
But
work out for sure.
speaking of not working out, it might not work out for Anthony Richardson in the Indianapolis Colts because it seems to be more disastrous as Anthony Richardson has tweaked his AC joint in his same surgically repaired shoulder, and now he will not be participating in scheduled OTAs or minicamp coming up this week. That was announced by the head coach, Steichen. So, Cody, let me ask you this question, and this is open to the room as well. If you guys want to let us know what you guys think about Colts fans, do we have any Colts fans in the chat? Let us know. Is it Danny Dimes time, and is Anthony Richardson's career over?
It could be. Like, I think it was going to be a quarterback competition anyway this offseason, or at least this training camp. But it looks like Danny Dimes is maybe going into training camp as like the lead in that race because Richardson's still injured. He's still not there. And I mean, let's be honest, Richardson hasn't been great when he's been in the game. He's super inaccurate. He's very inconsistent. So yeah, I mean, they're kind of it. There's no real good options if you're Indianapolis, to be honest. I mean, Richardson wasn't great, and that Danny Dimes, I think, is a backup quarterback. But yeah, it looks like it's Danny Dimes' time. And it looks like, I mean, I don't know if it's the end of Anthony Richardson's career. Maybe he can end up somewhere else, but it could be the end of his career in Indianapolis, at least. Because, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that what is on his side, right? Quick side note, it's like me and my buddy on our show, we used to do NFL, like we used to pick an international player in the NBA draft every year, just random, so we can become fans of them, you know. Right. So one of the people that I picked was what is his name? I'm blanking. He's a French point guard, right? And he was 19, and the reports on him was everything was below average this, below average this, below. The only plus thing that he had on his side was his age. And I think that is kind of what I feel with Anthony Richardson.
Right.
And because he's still, I think he's only 22, 20, he might be 24, maybe, because I think he came in at like 21. So he's still young. Like because he's kind of that Sam Darnold trajectory. But the issue is he injured his shoulder in non-contact, just throwing the football. Right. So that is concerning for his long-term longevity, right? So then it comes to the fact of like, okay, does he have a long-term future at quarterback, right? Because then those questions, if you want to salvage your career, is there a Logan Thomas type switch to tight end, being a big body guy, 6'4", 250, lean, cut, fast as heck, and looks like could be a weapon for you. But then again, he still has back issues, shoulder issues. Like he hasn't been able to be just healthy and play football. So it's hard to quantify like what he can be.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. And I mean, us both being college football fans, I'm sure you remember him at Florida. And I mean, he was super inconsistent at Florida too. There'd be games like,
I didn't see the top 4 worth pick. Like I was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, when they took him top 4, I was like, this is a project, and this is someone you take second, third round, and you like, okay, maybe we see what happens. But top 5 pick, it was, and I don't think, was that Steichen or was that still Frank Reich when they took him? I think it was.
It was Steichen.
It was Steichen. So I mean, this has been their guy. It hasn't worked out. I thought he was a massive project. It was him and Will Levis in that draft, and I was like, both these guys aren't first round picks, but they both were rumored to be first round picks, and just Richardson. But it's like, yeah, I thought that was a reach big time, and obviously it hasn't worked out. And I mean, one of the things he does have going for him is like he can throw the ball a mile, but if you keep having shoulder issues, that's going to hurt, and you're not an accurate quarterback. And so, yeah, maybe the tight end move is the move. Like you said, a Logan Thomas type. He is a big guy. I don't know how well he can catch, or how well he can block. But yeah, I think that could be the way he salvaged his career. It's sad because he seems like a good dude, but I mean, not everybody's built to play. Like he's not an NFL quarterback. At least not, he hasn't been yet, like a solid NFL quarterback.
And the thing is too, is like, it's one of those things where I understood like the Danny Dimes thing. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. and like having to get assurances, right? Of just to make sure that we have someone to go down the, there just in case he does go down. But and I think the thing is too is like you kind of knew he was a project quarterback, and so like and it almost feels like they're giving up on him in a sense, or like you're kind of making it weird. And so and the thing is like I guess here's the question I need to know. Like how much of a project did you think he was? Right. And then how much of your cockiness or, whatever you think that obviously Steichen is a pretty good coach. I like him as a play caller. Obviously, he did really good with Philadelphia, but Philadelphia has all the toys in the toy box that you can be like, okay, you can make shit work, Right. And don't get me wrong, like the Colts have immaculate weapons. Yeah. I don't think that's what they said. Like they have immaculate weapons. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they bottom out and then draft a quarterback, say like it's probably going to be like a Sam Levitt or something like that, right? Because he can move and stuff like that. And you get a guy like that who could just get the ball to your weapons. I mean, we saw what even with Joe Flacco came in for a little bit. Like if you just get the ball to their weapons, you got Josh Downs is electric. You know what I'm saying? You got A.D. Mitchell, I love.
Pittman, Jonathan Taylor,
Like, if you just need to, like, honestly, if you get Kirk Cousins, even at Kirk Cousins at his, at his mid, like whatever condition he's be at, he just can get, if he gets the ball out in a timely fashion, a place that I would love to see if they want to try to go back at really developing a quarterback, Trey Lance. Try to see what kind of juice you can get out of that orange, right? And the thing is, we talked about this on our podcast, The Rookie Revelation, and it was like Trey Lance and Anthony Richardson are the same person to me in terms of the fact that they both coming out of college didn't play a lot of football. Trey Lance was due to the fact that COVID happened and he decided to go out and maximize on his potential, right? And then kind of really didn't get a fair shake. It almost felt like Kyle Shanahan hated Trey Lance and he lost a war with, John Lynch for who his quarterback could be. Because if you think about it, like he played solidly in one season, right? He won that game in the monsoon against Chicago. He breaks his foot out for the year and it's like, and Kyle Shanahan was like, thank God this happened in a sense. Because it's like, because if you look at just what he put out on tape, obviously the injury his year one kind of derailed him. And then when he finally came back to play, then it was like, okay, cool. But then it's like, yeah, we're ready to move on from him so quick. I was like, wait, obviously you see him in practice every week. And that's when I was like, oh, well, you see him in practice. He knows. But then it's like, you put top 3 capital in this player.
Yeah. Tons of draft picks.
And you just ready to, and you're just ready to give up on him that quick. Something just didn't feel right. And I thought at the end of last year under Mike McCarthy, even that last game he started against the Commanders, he looked good. He was rolling out in the pocket. Like he was making good throws. Like it was, again, one of his first starts since 2020? You know what I mean? Like since 2022. Like again, he hasn't been able to play a lot of football. So if Trey Lance got an opportunity to just play football under if a Mike McCarthy or a guy who understands, like maybe if he goes to like the Dolphins or somewhere where he can that's maybe like not a good situation and just where he can just get reps and play football. Like I would just be happy for that for him. I mean, this is the same thing for Anthony Richardson. Obviously, there's still injury concerns for both players, but I just don't know. I think that might have to be a plan if Danny Dimes doesn't plan out, which I think Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones, I think he's a serviceable guy. Like, again, he's a guy who did well at times with the Giants where he just got the ball out quick enough to his receivers, let them do work and let them do what they had to do. And they were solid. They were dangerous, especially against the Commanders, because I know that man turned to Vanilla Vic, and I got pissed off every time I'm watching him play against him. Right. So I think he's good enough.
Yeah, and I think with these weapons, like we've talked about, Downs, A.D. Mitchell, Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, like you have solid weapons. I think Daniel Jones is probably going to look better than he really has, maybe outside of that one year they went to the playoffs and beat Minnesota. But so, I mean, I think he's going to look halfway decent. But what I also wonder is, like, if this goes south and say Danny Dimes is just okay and Anthony Richardson is hurt, and when he comes in, he's still kind of just same guy, is that does that go on Steichen? Does that end up being Steichen's how he loses his job or how he gets fired? Because it's like, this is your guy. You drafted him. A lot of people were like, hey, he's got the potential to be great, but there's a lot of room to grow there. And obviously he hasn't grown, and he's in his third, fourth year now. So I don't know if this ends up being like, I think whether it's Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, like they have to make a run and at least contend for a playoff spot this year. If they're what they've been last year, like I think he's gone. I think both him and the GM could lose their jobs because, I mean, this was their project and it didn't work. It hasn't worked. Yeah. And I mean, look what they did 2 years ago with Minshew. I mean, they were on the precipice of the playoffs. So it's like the talent, like you said,
Carson
is there.
They were like literally week 17 both times or week 18, or it was literally win this game and you're into the playoffs, and they just haven't failed against the Texans or the Jags. And they're close. Again, they're kind of like you're a bootleg. I can't give them the Pittsburgh Steelers, but like they're in the same room, you know, and just different sides of the, you know, of the room of the average team category. And you know, I think Steichen and I forget his name is off the top of my head, but it's going to be clean house. You know, obviously it's, you know, it'll be a tough decision, but like you gotta. I mean, I think it probably might be a bit of a shakeup anyway in the organization. Obviously, in, you know, lieu of passing of Jim Irsay, you know, there could be just a change of like whoever decides to take over the team. I think whether that be his daughters or whatever happens at that point, there could be some fresh ideas in the room. And you know, maybe it's like we just need to restart, because I mean it's not working. Like that's like you can't, you know, like would you want to just be in the chase and just fall just short? Like that's just, you know, mediocrity is the death of, excuse my wording, but
it really is.
It's just it's the worst for fans and for everyone, especially because I mean they do pretty good packing up that you know, Lucas Oil, you know, but it's but is that going to be enough? Like, you know, these fans will crave playoff success.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they had that for 15 years with Peyton, and then even with Luck there, they saw playoffs. Peyton got them a Super Bowl. Luck got them to the AFC Championship. So it's like they saw success after success, and now it's like they're going on close to like a decade now, where it's like, okay, I think Rivers got them to the playoffs once there in his last year, and then it's just been disappointing season, close. But it's like that division, even though the Texans are. It's super winnable. It's like the Texans are a good team, but gosh, they did everything they could last year to hand that division. But the other three teams were just like, nah, we're good. Like they just wouldn't take it from it. It was like that's a winnable division. I still don't think the Texans are that great. Obviously, the Titans just had the first pick in the draft, so he shows you how good they were. And I think the Jags were supposed to Jags were a top 5 pick team too. So it's like, it's super winnable. And it's like, all you have to do is just and with those weapons, just have a quarterback that can go in there and just not lose you the game. So maybe Danny Dimes is good enough to do that. I think he's most likely going to be the week 1 starter with the injuries for Anthony Richardson, but I don't know. Is Anthony Richardson going to be there to be the backup, or what's like, do they keep him on as the backup, or do they look to trade? I don't know. That's definitely an interesting situation there. Still on his rookie contract, so he's not making a ton of money from them. So it's interesting to see. It's interesting to see what's going to happen there, but yeah, I don't think Anthony Richardson's that good. So I think I think his days could be numbered in Indianapolis.
Yeah, unfortunately so. I agree with that. And you know what? You know, I'm starting to think about this. Like this, you know, 2023 rookie quarterback class with what was it? Bryce,
CJ
Stroud, Anthony Richardson. It could,
yeah, we don't have to get him. But he's already been replaced. Yeah.
So I think Israel has a chance for, like, because everyone's like, you know, the early impression was like this could be a really good class, right? But I think what's like, this is a kind of a hot take, but I think Bryce Young is going to wind up being, you know, the shining star, because coming out of Texans camp, there is some concerns with CJ Stroud and his pec soreness that he's been dealing with. And he hasn't been throwing yet. Obviously, it's still early into the off season or whatnot, but this could be something lingering. Like, I mean, this is like could possibly affect him, especially it's like, yeah, he could be good, you know, once the fully healthy to start the season. But one good hit to that chest, especially with losing Laramie Tunsil and going younger on the offensive line and, kind of restructuring this offensive line. Now it's going to be more stress to make sure that he's protected. Maybe we might see a little bit more of a running game, which we'll talk about in a second with the new report that came out today. I don't know. I'm just a little afraid for CJ Stroud right now because, he quote unquote had a sophomore slump. He still had a solid year, but it just wasn't as dynamic as he did year one. Obviously, still winning 10 games back-to-back years, making to the playoffs, which is good. Winning the AFC South, but it's like right now the AFC South is just not a tough division. I don't know. I'm a little worried about CJ Stroud. How do you feel?
I am too, to be honest with you. Like, I thought he regressed last year. Like, he definitely had that sophomore slump. And then now, he's got the pec issue. Their offensive line, they kind of addressed it in the draft a little bit, but you lose your left tackle. I think they lost one of their guards too, or something like that in the offseason.
Their guards were not good, to be honest. So they was good.
Their guards were not good. But it's like he was already getting hammered last year, and then you lose Tunsil. So that's going to be tough. Their wide receivers aren't bad. Like, you have Christian Kirk, Nico Collins. I think you're going to be okay. And then they drafted both the Iowa State kids in the draft, so they're just going to go ham.
They're so good.
I like both of them too. So it's like, hey, why not just take them both? So I think their weapons are going to be good enough. I don't know if we'll ever see. Unfortunately, what's his Tank Dell again? It could be a minute before we see Tank Dell, which is sad because he was a good player. Mm-hmm. But I think their roster is good enough to kind of,
especially on the defensive side, like their secondary is locked down. Yeah, they're so good. Derek Stingley.
Well, then you got Will Anderson on the front too. It's like they got a good defense. Like, so I think their roster is good enough to keep them afloat, and that's why I think they're the best in the division. Even though I think the division's weak, but if you don't have quarterbacks, we've seen if you don't have a quarterback in this league, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So one thing they could possibly use to aid CJ Stroud and maybe be more of a run first team is they have pending, I guess, physical, and if everything goes right, Ian Rappaport is reporting that the Houston Texans are going to be signing Nick Chubb, which is kind of surprising, featuring that Joe Mixon had one of his best years last year, just looked like an absolute stud still. They're actually the same age, so it's kind of like they're both crazy. Like 29, 30. So it's kind of like, oh, okay. Cool, I guess. But I love Nick Chubb. Like, if he has any juice left to squeeze, then I think that's going to be dynamic, right? Like, he's a Georgia Bulldog, so obviously, that's why he's so good. And then, obviously he's so dynamic. One of the top 5 running backs throughout his career before the, disgusting injury.
Yeah, for sure.
And then following that with another leg injury. Like, I think he's a good pickup, but it could make a really fun, interesting 1-2 combo in Houston. What do you think?
Yeah, I saw that too. I was like, that's interesting. I like both. I loved Nick Chubb when he was healthy. He was one of my favorite players. I had him in fantasy, I think, back-to-back years when he was healthy, and he was just a stud. So that was awesome. And especially in Cleveland too, like, didn't have great quarterback play. 1 year with Baker was pretty solid, but he just still did his thing. But 2 back-to-back awful injury 2 years ago. And then, another leg injury. So it's like, what's left in the tank for Nick Chubb? But now maybe this is going to help because he's not going to be the number one guy. It's still going to be Joe Mixon. They still have Dameon Pierce maybe to come in and get some carries from time to time. But maybe this helps him. He's more of a short yardage guy, gets less carries, kind of can have a little bit longer career. And maybe it takes some pressure off of CJ Stroud as well. You don't have to throw 40 times a game. Can hand off to 2. I wouldn't have guessed they're the same age. I would have guessed Nick Chubb is older. It just seems like he's been in the league longer than Joe Mixon. But 2, Joe Mixon, one of his best years last year. So I think that's a solid pickup. It's kind of a low risk because they're not going to be paying him a bunch. If he's not ready to go, then you still have Joe Mixon. You still have other guys. So you're not too worried if he doesn't work out. But if he does work out, it's like, shit, now we got a great 1-2 punch in the backfield. And we could take a ton of pressure off our young quarterback and our, spotty offensive line a little bit. So I think it's definitely a pickup worth doing, and it could really turn out great for them. And if it doesn't, then okay, well then they just move on and they still have a good team.
I agree. So as we're going to be wrapping up the show shortly, momentarily, let's talk a little bit about the race for the worst, right? The stink bowl, you can say,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Teams that were most likely to achieve that first overall pick, right? And possibly a surprise team that could be one of the worst teams. And here's a storyline. I'm going to paint a picture for you, and tell me if you can see this, on your end.
Right.
The Arizona Cardinals stinking up the joint and getting the first overall pick, which then will put you in a similar situation to the Chicago Bears.
Right.
In a similar but not the same, because obviously with Justin Fields, they didn't pay him yet. But now I think we're getting closer to the end of the guaranteed money for Kyler Murray's contract now. So it could be more movable. And so if the Arizona Cardinals were to get the first overall pick, there could be some questions. There could be some interesting discussions. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think if they are the number one picks, obviously they had a bad year, because I think this is kind of a make or break year for Kyler Murray, because it's like we've seen there's sometimes when you watch Kyler Murray, like shit, like this guy could be like a top 10 quarterback in the league, and then there's other games it's like this guy should even be starting. Right. Like there's games where he's super inconsistent. The size thing's always going to be a problem. Like he's never going to grow at this point, and so that's always going to be a problem. He's always going to have issues throwing from in the pocket because he can't see. And then the athleticism is going to start falling off too because he's going to get older. So. And if you're the Cardinals, are you just okay with being like not even mediocre, just like just barely below average? Like you're not terrible where you're like the first pick in the draft most years, or you're a top 5 pick, but you're usually anywhere from like 8 to like 15. It's like, are you okay just constantly over and over? Their roster, I don't think is terrible. I like Trey McBride. James Conner, I think is pretty solid. And then we'll see if Marvin Harrison Jr. can kind of take that next step. So there's not terrible, and I think their coach has actually done a fairly decent job there with what he's had to work with. But that division, I mean, you have the Niners who could take a step back potentially. You have the Seahawks who we don't know what Sam Darnold's got, what he's going to do this year. I think he'll be pretty solid, but there's no guarantee there. So there's opportunity to move up within the division. And yeah, if they bottom out, like you said, and they're the first pick overall, I think you're definitely in the quarterback market, because it's like, what are you getting from Kyler Murray at this point? You're right. Able to get out of that contract. You probably can find some team that's going to give you like a 3rd, 4th round pick for him or something like that. So I think you're definitely in the quarterback market. There's guys in this draft, I think, that are worth taking and could do better than him. So yeah, I think if that's the case, if they end up with the number 1 overall pick, I think they're definitely in the quarterback market for sure.
Here's 2 questions to follow up. What does that mean for Jonathan Gannon? Right. If they bottom out, do you think he is secure enough in his job? This will be year 3 for him, and I'll obviously be seeing the Cardinals have a shorter of a leash, especially with that owner that come in and say, "Nah, this is not working for me." Do you think that could be a see the door, or do you think he gets the opportunity to develop a new quarterback?
Just looking at their history, I'm guessing it would be just fresh, new start, new quarterback, new coach, and they try to roll with that. Because that's what they've done. I mean, they did that with Cliff and Kyler when he came out, and so I think what they're gonna do. They would probably
and Steve Wilks
and Steve Wilks, yeah, Steve Wilks and freaking Josh Rosen was supposed to be the thing, and then he got fired after 1 year, and then they shit canned Rosen after 1 year and went with Cliff and Kyler. So I think looking at their history, they would probably just fire him and move on. I don't know if that'd be a good move, but. Yeah, if you bottom out, you're saying like first pick, they got like 2-3 wins, then yeah, maybe that is the right move.
Okay, so here's an alternate version of this, right? You get the first, obviously, like not getting the first overall pick, but say you get another like top 5 pick or whatever. But then it's like I think the questions with Kyler is still there. Like, if you're Kyler, do you still want to try to make it work in Arizona, or do you want to try to force your way out? Right, because I feel like, obviously being a very, important position, like, there will be openings like where he could get opportunity. Like, and I would think, kind of full circling this whole episode, the Pittsburgh Steelers should be able to jump on
Right.
that, right?
Right.
Especially if Arthur Smith is still there as head coach. I think that could be a perfect match made in heaven.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think there would be a small market for him. Yeah, like a Pittsburgh. There's other teams that probably would be in on the market. JJ McCarthy doesn't work out or doesn't look like he's the guy. Maybe
Minnesota.
Minnesota kicks the tires a little bit, bring him in as a mentor a little bit. But yeah, there could be other teams that could look at him. I think he would have a small market. But yeah, if you're Kyler, your team's got the number 1 overall pick. They're probably going to take a quarterback. He doesn't want to be a mentor. Like he's gonna, at least in that scenario, he's going to want to have a chance to compete and start. So I think he would move on and or at least try to move on and be like, hey, like, let me get a trade. Let's see what's out there. Pittsburgh would be interesting. The Giants could be interesting after a year of Russell Wilson. Maybe the Jets, maybe the Fields situation doesn't work out there either. So there could be a market for him too. I think there'd be like a small market, but there would be a net market for him.
I think he's still a valuable starting quarterback in the league. I think if he's a guy who show you can win games, I think there'll be a pretty sizable market.
Right.
I mean, he could be in New York because New York could just blow up everything.
Especially either one. Yeah.
If you believe the reports that Jackson Dart is having some issues trying to adapt to obviously not having a snap count or playing under center. So that's kind of like a double whammy for a quarterback in the NFL. Do you have a team that could possibly be a surprise shock team to be the first overall pick next year?
Okay. Surprise shock is a tough question because I think the team we were just talking about, I think is probably going to end up being close to the number 1 pick, the Giants.
Right.
Just because I think Russell Wilson doesn't really have much left in the tank. And I think it is going to be bumpy to start out for Jackson Dart just because he played in that Lane Kiffin offense where it's like you pretty much know where you're going with the ball before it's snapped. You're out of shotgun. I like Jackson Dart, but I think that's going to be bumpy for the first maybe year and a half. So
they're already fighting. They're fighting in OTAs already.
Yeah, it's not looking good to start. So I think it's going to be rough for the first year and a half. But if we're going surprise teams that I think could have close to the number 1 pick, that's a tougher question. Let me see.
If you need, you can also just go a team that you think as well. But
if I'm going to go with the team that I think will be the worst team and have the number 1 pick, it's probably going to be the Giants. Just because, like I said, you have Malik Neighbors. What else do you really have that scares on that offense? Defense, I think, is solid with guys like Brian Burns, and Thibodeau's kind of been kind of a little bit of a disappointment because of all the hype he had coming out of Oregon, but he's still a solid player. That division is going to be tough. You got to play the Commanders and the Eagles twice a year. The Cowboys have owned them. I think the Cowboys have beaten them like 8 straight times. So the Cowboys have owned them. Yeah. So they could go 0-6 in the division. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. What's your one?
I got another one. How about the Miami Dolphins, right?
See, that
puts in another situation similar to Arizona where obviously this would be more newer of his money because he's making a lot. Right. I think this might be like year 2 of his contract of how much his new contract. So it might put him in a more of a bind. But if you're the Dolphins, I think Mike McDaniels don't make it out if they go first overall pick. No. Yeah, but the question is, do Mike McDaniels and Tua not make it out?
That would be tough, right? Yeah, if they are the first overall pick, they got like 3 wins. Mike McDaniel's gone, and he might not even finish the season as the head coach if that's the case. And then but it's Tua out. If that happens, I could see Tyreek being like, "Get me the hell out of here."
He could not even make the season, to be honest.
Yeah, so I think they have an opportunity this year to be bad. Like I think there's an opportunity there where it could things could really go south in a hurry for the Dolphins, just because I'm still not a huge believer in Tua or Mike McDaniels, to be honest. So I don't think either one of them are great. And then Tyreek seems to be half in right now. He doesn't seem to be fully in. Their running back situation, I feel like you see flashes from their running backs, but I don't really know what they're getting there. And then their defense hasn't really been all great either. Ramsey, is he going to get traded? What's going to happen there? If he doesn't get traded, is he kind of just going to be half in on the team? So there's a lot of fires going on in Miami, and I don't think they can put them all out. So they could definitely be a team to bottom out. And I think if they do, they probably just clean house. Like, hey, Tua, where do you want to go? We could trade you. McDaniels, you're out, and let's start off. Let's start from scratch.
Last thing before we get out of here.
Yep.
They won't. Tua doesn't have an out till 2027, and then at that 2027 year, he will still have a $34 million dead cap hit with 2 years remaining. So he will have to be there for at least one more year, which could be interesting if they were to go first overall. But that is all the time that we have today from the sidelines. I'm in CJ, and this is Cody. We're here every Sunday at 8 o'clock on the Sports Fluent network of Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. You can check us out. You can also check out the link down below, fluent.printful.com, if you want to check out merch that we have here for the show. It'll help support us and grow and do more awesome things. We'll catch you guys next Sunday. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll talk more NFL from the sidelines.
See you guys.
Oh, Canada.
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
No, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.